Hello, good evening. Welcome once again to Beyond the Boundary. आप देख रहे हैं TUI Sports, and we will continue to build on towards the second test between Australia and India, the pink ball test in Adelaide. The preparations have begun in good stead. आज दोनों teams ने net sessions किए हैं Adelaide Oval पे, तो हम चर्चा करेंगे कि किसका पल्ला भारी है इस टेस्ट में चाहते हुए. Of course, as you know, India have won the first test in Perth. They came out with flying colors from that warm up game, the pink ball warm up game as well. So let's get headlong into this discussion. Today in the panel, we have Nitin Nayak and we have Gaurav Gupta. Hello, guys. How are you? And how are you looking forward to this pink ball test? Nitin, let's start with you because we're going to be talking about आज क्या different records हैं, किस टीम ने कैसा परफॉर्मेंस दिया है पिंक बॉल टेस्ट में. I mean, what are your memories of India playing the pink ball test? I mean, I remember matches against England. I remember match against Bangladesh. The Australia game, of course. आप कैसे भूल सकते हो? 36 all out. What are your memories of pink ball?
Virat Kohli being the first Indian to score 100. I think he got 136 in Kolkata.
Yeah, Bangladesh.
That was a pretty spicy pitch actually. Ishant Sharma bowled beautifully. I think he got 5 wickets there. I also think he would have got the 100 in Adelaide too. Had that mix up with Ajinkya Rahane not happened when he was on 74. And that kind of just it ended up being in a downward spiral after that. But what I remember is on that third morning, December 19, 2020, it was a Saturday.
You remember the date?
It was a Saturday, and the only thing that I remember was every false shot producing an edge, and every nick carrying to the keeper or to the slips. I mean, it was just eerie. I mean, normally and funnily enough, India played more false shots. They played and missed more often in Melbourne, but they ended up scoring 326. And so that's the vagaries of the sport, really.
Yeah, that particular game, I mean, that particular innings, अगर आप उसकी बात करो, November 19, December 19 says Priyanshu, 19 is not a good date for Indian cricket, is it? नहीं, look, अगर आप बात करो ना उस particular innings की 36 all out, everything went to hand and everything was caught and it was caught well. There was you don't remember, मतलब ठीक है, Virat getting run out in the first innings, that's all fine. But I'm talking about the second innings. It just everything went to hand. Just everything went to hand, and that was just a standout feature of that particular innings. कह सकते हैं ना कि एक तरीके से कि freak fielding effort था वो. Of course, यहाँ पे हमारे viewers भी हैं, they are giving comments कि उनकी memory है dust ball अहमदाबाद. उन्होंने pacers खिलाए थे. I still remember James Anderson playing and thinking that they will swing a lot. Yeah, Jofra Archer also played. Gigi, your memories of that game? Or Akshar Patel was like, नहीं रुको, मैं 2 दिन में match खत्म करके दिखाता हूँ.
So I remember about that Ahmedabad Test match. I remember telling our department people. I hope Nitin remembers. I said that this game will finish in 2 days, and he was I think like नहीं यार 3 दिन तो जाएगा. I said नहीं, this is finishing in 2 days, And I don't think after that have you seen a pink ball test? Oh, we have seen one. I think India Sri Lanka match हुआ था एक बेंगलुरु में.
In Bangalore.
हाँ बैंगलोर. उसके बाद नहीं हुआ. उसके बाद pink ball. I think BCCI was very firm, and Jaisha came to our office, the erstwhile BCCI secretary, and he very clearly said that now pink ball test matches हम लोग नहीं encourage करेंगे because batsmen are not able to survive for long periods, and the test matches bowlers tend to dominate way too much, and test matches finish inside 3-4 days, which is not what we want. Having said that, we just saw a series in New Zealand where 2 test matches finished inside 3 days. So I don't know, and with the Indian team making turners, so ये मुझे चीज or at least preferring turners, at home. तो ये चीज मुझे समझ में नहीं आती क्या वो है, but I don't think the BCCI is too keen on having after that Akshar Patel test match in Ahmedabad on having pink ball test matches in India. Maybe it doesn't suit us.
Akshar Patel test match in Ahmedabad has a nice ring to it, doesn't it, Nitin? Doesn't it, Gaurav? I mean, look, yes, I think what the BCCI has thought or decided is that pink ball is too much, it takes the game too much in favor of the bowlers. Yes, अगर आप उस पे और spin friendly विकेट करा दो, जो एक्स्ट्रा लैकर होता है पिंक बॉल पे, दैट्स व्हाट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड नितिन,
Correct.
that difference, जो एक्स्ट्रा लैकर रहेगा, that makes the ball more shiny, it keeps the ball shinier throughout the game. और जो उसका सीम है वो थोड़ा ज्यादा प्रोनाउंस्ड रहता है, अगर आप नॉर्मल एसजी बॉल पे भी देखो तो सीम इज अ लिटिल प्रोनाउंस्ड ऑन दैट पिंक बॉल. The bowlers are able to exploit it much more. The SG ball very very different from Kookaburra, but again at the same time, वो जो pronouncement है, जो seam pronouncement on the Kookaburra, on a pink ball, it's obviously going to be more pronounced as well. So obviously we've seen enough. Australia में भी ये देखा है हमने. In terms of Australia also playing pink ball, I mean, they haven't played a lot of pink ball test match. So in a way, this is partly Australia wanting to engage with India in a pink ball test, but also partly because it suits the broadcaster to play a 9 a.m. game in India. From that perspective. But let's take a look at what the pink ball history of Test cricket has been like. Let's take a look at what different teams have done in pink ball Test cricket. Of course, this will be the 23rd match, and of course, Australia have played the most in terms of pink ball, and they are the ones who've actually introduced it and said, you know what, this is what they were the ones who've trialed it so much. I still remember 2014,
Yeah.
as far back as 2014, when I was there on my first tour of Australia, they were trialing पिंक बॉल एंड दे वर ट्रायलिंग पिंक बॉल ड्यूरिंग द ओडीआई गेम्स. जब मैच खत्म हो जाता था उसके बाद, बिकॉज द cameras were in place, lights were in place, and as soon as the ODIs used to finish, they used to come out and play with the pink ball. They had their players ready, and again it was they were exhibition, they were a few exhibition overs really. यहाँ पे एमएस धोनी का प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस चल रहा है और ग्राउंड पे पिंक बॉल का मैच चल रहा है. मेरी एक मेमोरी ये भी है कि एमएस धोनी ऑन हिज वे टू द प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस, he stood behind the wicket and watched. वही gloves लेके he just थोड़ा सा देखा कि कैसे हो रहा है, आ रही है बॉल, दिख रही है बॉल 2014 में. And then he was delayed for the press conference that day, and then he came to the press conference. Off the record, we were placing our microphones and recording devices, and I asked him, ball dikhi kya? And he was like, nahi dikhti hai, ball nahi dikhti hai. So 2014, that he could not sight that ball, and since then it's gone on to become another way of playing test cricket. So 11 wins in 12 day-night tests. Australia, the pioneers of pink ball. Australia, the introductors of pink ball. Gigi and Nitin, do you think they will hold an advantage? Forget what happened in Perth. It's a different ball game altogether, quite literally.
Nitin, you want to go first?
You go first.
Let Nitin, then I'll.
Nitin.
Okay.
It's an outlier test, isn't it? I mean, it's a one-off outlier test. Any pink ball test these days, because if you look at it, only 5 of these 22 tests have lasted 5 days. I think two of them have ended in 2 days. It's you mentioned such an interesting bit about MS Dhoni not being able to sight the ball. What I also remember about that 2020 Test match is three routine chances, going down. In Otherwise, India would have ended up with a triple-digit lead. Because Australia, I think, were 111 for 7. And I think, if I'm not wrong, Jasprit Bumrah, Mayank Agarwal, and Prithvi Shaw, they dropped fairly routine chances, which allowed Tim Payne to add 80 runs with the tail, and that kind of ended up proving to be decisive. Obviously, what happened on day 3 was just a freak show. You're not going to have two bowlers, Cummins and Hazelwood, bowl so well for such a sustained period of time. And funnily enough, it was not twilight; it was blazing sunshine. It was perfect batting conditions. It was just that pitch quickened up on that day 3, and the batsman, I think, had very little reaction time, and every ball kind of landed in the right area and produced those chances. It was just that's what I said. I mean, it's an outlier test. Also for the fielders, it's a test, especially if the ball is skied and coming from a darker sky. I think it's going to be a little bit difficult to catch skiers.
Yeah. Gigi, you want to add? You wanted to talk about the pink ball test before we go on and talk about the various difficulties of the pink ball.
I think India's go as the favorites. Yeah, matlab, there's a lot of panic in the Aussie ranks as the Sunil Gavaskar sir rightly said. Hazelwood का तो वो कह रहे हैं यहाँ तक कि शायद पता नहीं drop हुए हैं या injured है. मतलब he's put a whole question mark around the whole thing. Because
Yes,
he's
that's
saying that Hazelwood I think उन्होंने batters को criticize किया था ना, saying that now it's over to the batters on after day 3 or something. So he's saying this clearly panic in the Aussie ranks. So like that, but that obviously I think is not a fair theory. I mean, Hazelwood would have been a complete, as I was saying yesterday, it would have been a huge challenge on this pitch. Last time मेरे को समझ नहीं आ रहा था कौन सी बॉल उनकी बैट्समैन खेलना चाहते हैं और कौन सी नहीं खेल सकते, because he was just pitching it in that corridor of uncertainty all the time, and the batsman
and
kept nicking.
Hazelwood, yeah, and Hazelwood is such a remarkable bowler कि अगर वो fit हैं तो वो खेलेंगे ही खेलेंगे. I still don't think
100%, 100%.
there have been news stories. There have been news stories where where people have discussed in terms of how there might be rift in the Australian dressing room. But मुझे नहीं लगता है ऐसा कि कोई भी आप एक stray comment उठा लोगे और वो एक rift पड़ जाएगा Australian dressing room में. With all due respect, I think this was good old SMG being a bit naughty on he was siding with the Indian team.
He was
He
giving
was
them a dose of their own medicine, Chetan. ये
exactly
इनका मीडिया करता है हमारे साथ, हमारे
yeah.
एक प्लेयर का स्टेटमेंट लेके ट्विस्ट करते हैं, तो उन्होंने भी वही खेल
Simple,
खेला उनके
exactly.
साथ में.
Yes, exactly. And and SMG, Sunil Gavaskar, he's always been a core Indian at heart, and of course he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he takes the side of the Indian team wherever he goes. So Australia, mein to, he will obviously fire the big guns. So from that perspective, I think. Uh, you know, I still think there is an injury issue because Hazelwood is forget everything else, forget any theories and comments and remarks. Hazelwood is too big a player or too big a bowler to miss out, especially with the pink ball test for just random statements, random comments. Okay, we were talking about the difficulties of catching with the pink ball. Nitin, I was watching this program with Cheteshwar Pujara, and he was talking about the visibility issue. Or abhi isse pehle we had this picture on our screen. If we can have that picture, and I think that was from Canberra. Uh, you know, Australia doesn't have those. I don't want to say pollution issues, but it's a clearer sky over there, and in Adelaide, it's a beautiful pink sky whenever the sun goes down. I think this is from Canberra, but I'm talking about Adelaide. Twilight pay, it can be very, very difficult to sight the ball, and that's not just because of the skies in Australia, etc. You find it difficult to sight the ball even in India, in that twilight session. It's the afternoon session and the evening session, which is much more relaxed or much more relaxed in terms of sighting the ball. How much of a challenge is this going to be? Because let's be honest, the Indian team, it's been a while since they played with pink ball. They've just played a 2-day game or a 1-day game, literally. Um, जैसे हमने बात की थी, जीजी ने जैसे पहले बताया था कि we have almost sidelined pink ball test cricket, and suddenly we are playing pink ball test cricket again, once again. How much of a challenge do you think this is going to be?
It will be a challenge for the younger people, for the younger players who have not played any pink ball games,
Yeah.
like the Yashasvi Jaiswal, and I think for all the good work that they did in that PM11 game, I think we should also consider that the bowling attack was quite inexperienced. Apart from those 10 or 11 overs that Scott Boland bowled, in fact, I was very surprised that they allowed Scott Boland, they allowed the Indian batters to get the exposure of facing Scott Boland for such a long time. Normally,
Hmm.
it's very unlike Australians to do that. So and in our case, I think Jasprit Bumrah was very smart to not bowl at all in that game, so that he did not want any more video analysis or footage. Obviously, we are playing each other so often, and there is so much of statistical and video analysis going on in today's day and age that there are very few secrets. But still, whatever secrets or weapons that he has in his armory, I think he would like to keep it to himself. And so I think India was smart, and I don't think India also bowled the lengths that they would bowl had Sam Constas been a part of the playing 11 in Adelaide. I think they allowed him. Maybe they
Score
sold him a
shot,
dummy by
yeah,
bowling the lengths that they did.
yeah.
But yeah, it will be a challenge for the younger people.
Okay, Gigi, your thoughts? Scott Boland. Let's take some comment here. He's saying Ujwal is saying Scott Boland is a very good bowler, but he's not Hazelwood. England destroyed him in Ashes. Yes, but he has a lot of experience in those conditions. He's on the other side of 30 now, obviously. Still built like a tank, has a pace, can work a good line, has good swing. Do you think? Are you also reading too much into this? प्लॉय फ्रॉम ऑस्ट्रेलिया कि उन्होंने स्कॉट बोलैंड को खिला लिया तो अभी एक नेगेटिव रहेगा और हमने जसप्रीत बुमराह को नहीं खिलाया. I think Jasprit Bumrah was being afforded rest. Let's look at it from that perspective. But
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Rest, yeah.
beat up कर रहे थे कि नहीं. हाँ, obviously
हाँ.
Bumrah playing that pink ball practice game, I would have completely lost it. I think the Indian fans.
Bumrah would not even play all the 5 Test matches. Honestly, I do not
Honestly,
think so.
if you win
Against
the series,
England at home, they didn't play him in the 5 Test matches. New Zealand last moment they let him go to celebrate Diwali with his wife in the third Test with the WTC spot in the online. So I don't think यार वो टूट जाएगा वो उसका body if you allow him to play, if you make him play each and everything. So it's just
okay,
pure rest. I don't think this thing कुछ वो है. That is just a case of pure resting him and ensuring that he's completely fit and fine and firing. 15 दिन के gap के बाद में आएगा वो. So like that. And other than that, Scott Boland को underestimate मत करो भाई, कुछ भरोसा नहीं है. ठीक है, I've seen one Ashes, I think that 22-20 when England went to Australia, and he was pretty deadly, and he kept taking wickets, and he was quite. I think एक ओवर में उन्होंने शायद 3 विकेट लिए थे. He was twice on a hat trick, something like that. So he can be a very tricky customer. क्रिकेट में कुछ नहीं कर सकता भाई. राशिद राणा डेब्यू कर रहे थे लास्ट मैच में. Ended up, said initially got stuck into him. Then he managed to clean up his stumps with a beauty. So you never know, yeah. And Aussies also must be hungry to come back, with a bang. They're also in with the line. They also have a chance for WTC qualification, final qualification. So let's not underestimate Scott Boland. He can be a tricky
I think
bowler to face.
I think he
yeah,
also bowled very well in the WTC final. I think he got Gill out
Correct. Yeah.
both
Yeah.
the innings, and
I'm
I
talking about
think
the
he got
Australian.
Virat Kohli out. He got Virat Kohli out also in the second
Yeah,
innings.
but I'm talking about the Australian conditions in particular because playing
Yeah,
at home,
yeah.
this is his bread and butter. Really, he's almost like a standby for the last couple of years for Australia to the frontline bowling attack. Look, Jasprit Bumrah की जहाँ तक हम बात करें, I'm not sure about the 5 Test match thing that you've spoken about, Gigi. If the series is done and dusted, either way, whether it's in favor of India or in favor of Australia, या दूसरी चीज ये है कि जो आप कह रहे हो ना कि उन्होंने एक टेस्ट मैच इंडिया में मिस कर दिया था. आई थिंक they were obviously trying to rest him for the Australia series, but also at the same time they felt that they could do without his services because the series was done. It was a dead rubber. आपको सिर्फ WTC के points बनाने थे and they expected कि हमारे spinners काम कर जाएंगे, which is why Washington Sundar was brought into the mix, but it did not work out for India for whatever reason. So whether Bumrah plays this, all the 5 matches in the series or not is Abhi at this point in time. That's what I'm going to say is at this point in time it's a little irrelevant. Yeah, he is definitely going to play the first 4. He has to. His body needs to hold up. So obviously he was rested. But जैसे नितिन आप कह रहे थे कि from a bowling lengths perspective, I agree with you. I think it was not the Test match lengths that were bowled, especially to the top order. I think Harshit Rana, towards later on when he picked those 4 wickets, you know, he was more on the money. कि ठीक है अब हो गया अब 240 रन बन गए हैं
Yeah,
or whenever wickets fell. I mean, towards the second half of the innings, he was bowling much more like how he would bowl in a Test match. So from that perspective, you're absolutely on the money. But again, so, my question stands still. Uh, who is going to be having this advantage with the pink ball going into this test match? Is it going to be Australia playing in home conditions despite the fact that they are 1-0 down? Or is it going to be India with that 1-0 confidence up behind them? पिंक बॉल का जो एडवांटेज है वो नहीं रहेगा बिकॉज अब इतना कॉमन नहीं रह गया है पिंक बॉल टेस्ट मैच. So that perspective, let's just see how the some of the teams have fared in this. Australia, the only team to play 10 or more pink ball tests. Remember, they are the ones who introduced pink ball. They worked hard on the visibility aspect of the pink ball को भी मैंने आपको story भी सुनाई. Since 2014 they've been working on it. Two of the 22 tests finished on the second day itself. Yes, और उसमें इंडिया का भी अच्छा योगदान था. The Ahmedabad, जैसे the Akshar Patel test. Only 5 of the 22 tests went to the fifth day. My mom was asking me today कि ये मैच कब खत्म होगा, and I said कि fourth day finish लेके आप चलो. Fifth day बहुत rare है कि because it's a pink ball match, तो बहुत rare है कि this will go on to the fifth day.
Any match, any test match lasting 5 days now is a rarity.
And regarding that, we have in regarding that we have a question as well. I'll take that question in a bit. All 22 pink ball tests have produced results. You know, Nitin, हम बात कर रहे थे ना कल कि आज ऐसा हो गया है कि आप मॉडर्न डे टेस्ट क्रिकेट, आप लास्ट बॉल पे, लास्ट आवर में, लास्ट सेशन में एक विकेट बचा रहे हो, देयर आर 10 फील्डर्स अराउंड द विकेट एंड यू आर सेविंग दोस 6 डिलीवरीज एंड देन द मैच एंड्स इन अ ड्रॉ. वो अब देखने को नहीं मिलता है और वो शायद अभी बहुत समय तक हमें देखने को नहीं मिलेगा, राइट? और उसमें आप ये पिंक बॉल का भी एक फैक्टर ऐड कर दो, सो matches are not going to last 5 days. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we should also keep in mind the impact of DRS in all this. I think a lot of decisions that probably were not given earlier now get given, and batters who are well set are trapped LBW, and hence innings get over early. Also, obviously, they impact of excessive white ball cricket, where batters play a lot more shots, and I think if you look also at run rates throughout, I think the Perth Test first innings was an outlier where I think the run rates were 2.2, 2.5, or 2 or whatever. I think all other tests, if you see, the run rates are 3.5, 3.7, 3.8, where I think bowlers also get a little more time to bowl teams out, and plus, because of these WTC points, every country is producing result pitches, where bowlers. I think we are gone are the days where I think the decade between 2000 to 2010. I think we were living in an era of run inflation. Now I think we are living in a very, very bowler dominated era where every team I think has 2 or 3 excellent bowlers.
Okay, and let's take this question. I think this is a very relevant point that Nitin आपने बोला है और बहुत ही relevant question भी है इसके साथ. He says most test batters in this era are unable to apply when there is slight help for bowlers. उसमें आप add कर दो कि WTC points की वजह से now you're having very result oriented pitches, whether it's in India, whether it's in South Africa. अब South Africa को देख लो, they need to get those points in the bag. So that first test, the first 2 days coupled with the rain. Look at the spell that Marco Jansen bowled, really. So, I mean, from that perspective, we're looking at very bowler-friendly conditions, very result-oriented pitches. Most test batters, as he's mentioned, जैसे हमने कल भी discuss किया था कि आज के modern day cricket की जो demand है, whether it's fueled by T20 cricket, whether it's fueled by a theory named baseball, however, or entertainment, it's become result-oriented. We're seeing more and more results. Now, the relevance bit. Do you think pink ball test would have been more successful, more relevant, or batters would have struggled anyway? Nitin, I'll start with you on this because अभी आपने mention किया कि 2000s का जो पहला decade था, that was very batter friendly, and we did not have the WTC then as well. So, do you think pink ball could have been much more relevant then, and would the batters have struggled?
Probably, yeah. Pink ball, because I think there was a trial where I think Rahul Dravid had gone with the MCC team, I think, to Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
And I think he came back and he said that it swung all corners. But he also, being always somebody who's ever ready for innovation, he also said that cricketers put them initially, even if they struggle, but cricketers put them in any situation, they will always find a way to evolve and to adjust. So, so he said, give this experiment time. And he said, give this experiment time, and it will catch up. And I think it will. I think the ICC also I think if you looked at in after their meeting, the points that came out. He said that I think Gaurav filed that story. I think he in that story he had mentioned that they want increasing thrust on pink ball matches.
Arani,
Okay,
that
So,
was Arani
so I,
Basu. Arani Basu story.
Arani, yeah, sorry, yeah, Arani
Arani
wrote
Basu.
that, and he said that they want more and more pink ball matches to be played. So I think, and Australia, I think, have taken the lead where they schedule at least one pink ball match every season. And I think,
yeah,
if I'm not
most
wrong, the
definitely.
Ashes 21-22, they had two pink ball matches, one in
Yeah,
Hobart and one in Adelaide.
yeah, yeah. Look, from that perspective, Gigi, do you agree कि अभी हमें एक different era में pink ball का relevance दिखता है? जैसे अभी हमने बात की 2014 when I had been on tour in Australia, the pink ball was being trialed then. So Australia has always taken this lead. As far we are talking about a decade ago now. We're talking about 10 years ago. And obviously, that was not at that particular point in time. It was not ready, obviously, because again, so many changes to the ball, the color, the lacquer, the seam. LA, if I think if you guys remember, first couple of matches, the pink ball had white seam. Then it was changed to the black seam. So these are the minor changes that have come over the time period and over a particular set of matches. क्योंकि hit and trial से ही आपका रहेगा कि how you improve the ball. Um, okay, let's take Gigi's thoughts on this. And before that, let's take this comment. He says that the batters struggle purely due to shot selection impacted by white ball cricket in general. Baseball is a classic example of that. Well, that's your opinion, of course. As we mentioned, whether it's the demand of the game आज की डेट में कि मॉडर्न डे क्रिकेट की ये डिमांड है या आप ज्यादा पिच ओरिएंटेड सॉरी रिजल्ट ओरिएंटेड पिचेस बना रहे हो, either way the expertise or the technique of batters is being tested and they are losing out in that particular battle. Gigi, your thoughts on this? This balance with the pink ball, whether it should have been introduced earlier, or if it had been introduced earlier, would it have had much more impact on cricket overall?
यार मैं ना चेतन थोड़ा सा डिसअपॉइंटेड हूँ बीसीसीआई के एटीट्यूड से भी पिंक बॉल if the ICC is saying that we need to have pink ball tests every series then and the
Hmm.
BCCI is completely sort of against कि हम यहाँ नहीं कराएंगे. I think थोड़ा सा
Hmm.
negative attitude है ये. And I don't know why. Maybe they fear that their spinners will get redundant or like that, because there's an obsession that हम यहाँ पर बस अखाड़े बनाए, turning tag बनाए और हम सारे points collect कर लें. I think थोड़ा सा you should also look at the game being benefited by playing at a time which is spectator friendly, viewer friendly,
Hmm.
building an atmosphere on the ground and sort of arriving at something new. थोड़ा सा आपको अब आप डोमेस्टिक क्रिकेट में बिल्कुल नहीं खेल रहे हो पिंक बॉल. आपने स्टार्ट किया था, आपने दिलीप ट्रॉफी खेल रहे थे कुछ साल पहले पिंक बॉल से. नाउ यू डोंट हैव अ सिंगल टूर्नामेंट, सिंगल दिस थिंग जहां पिंक बॉल को ट्राई करते हो एंड सडनली आप लड़कों को बोलते हो ऑस्ट्रेलिया में जाके एक पिंक बॉल टेस्ट मैच खेल लेना भाई. आई डोंट थिंक दैट्स अ बिट फेयर. You also should try and have the odd ping ball test in India. You should revive that practice and have the odd ping ball domestic. The red ball game could be a ping ball game. It could be a
Yes.
Duleep Trophy game or a Irani Cup match or something like that. थोड़ा तो करो यार, because you have to. And clearly, I think when Saurav Ganguly was the BCCI president, he insisted on that, and that is how the Indian team came around it, and he managed to convince Virat Kohli, and then we had ping ball the first ping ball test ever in 2019. So I think thoda sa administrators have to sort of get on with it. The BCCI has done well to take cricket to the Olympics and encourage that part of it, and it has changed a lot its attitude towards various new things. But I think
I
thoda sa
think
football things have to change.
okay, I think one of the reasons for this is because of the shorter duration of the match. अगर हम बात करें कोलकाता मैच की जो पहला inaugural match था, that also ended in what, 3 days if I'm not mistaken. Despite the
Yeah,
fact
two
that
and a bit.
we had, yeah,
Yeah,
two and a half.
two and a bit.
On the third day it was
Yeah.
over. Yeah. Despite the fact that Virat Kohli got 100, somebody batted time in that match, got 100 in that match. So despite that, the match got over in 3 days. एक आपको broadcaster perspective से भी देखना है कि where the broadcaster is losing out money, when there are 2 days of a test match is not being played, the stadium is losing out money. आपका जो match day revenue है वो loss हो रहा है. I think that's a perspective from where the BCCI is coming. Now you talk about sprint friendly wicket, जो हमने हमने आपने बात की, गौरव नहीं बोला कि वो अक्षर पटेल टेस्ट मैच है. आप उस पर्सपेक्टिव से देखो, so spinners are getting even more help. एक एरा चल पड़ा था, एक ट्रेंड चल पड़ा था कि जहां पे आपको स्पिन फ्रेंडली विकेट्स बनाने हैं, और उन स्पिन फ्रेंडली विकेट्स पे the spinners are getting even more help where the matches are finishing off in 1.5 days, 2 days, right? um so I think the imbalance was a bit too much for Indian pitchers. I think that has been the perspective for the BCCI, and you need to keep the broadcaster interests in mind. You need to keep the association interest in mind. I still love the idea of a pink ball test, and I think at a particular time, जहाँ पे there is, हमने बात की थी ना earlier in this season, we had talked about the fact कि अगर pitches में वो equilibrium आ जाए नितिन, where
Yeah,
the pitches
yeah.
are not giving you 2 day matches, 3 day matches, where it's a normal pitch, normal wicket, having a pink ball test over there, knowing well कि आपका 4 day match हो सकता है, I think that's still an agreeable solution to this.
I also think, Chetan, that in India, I mean, these are conditions, I think, very particular to the subcontinent and especially India, where I think the
Hmm.
dew also plays a part in certain portions of India, where the dew sets in, and then I think the pink ball becomes a bit tricky,
Hmm.
gripping it, or
Yeah,
or maybe even sighting it if it gets
yeah,
dirty
yeah.
on red soil pitches. So then I think you are in a fix. You don't know then what to do. I think when it comes to spinners,
Yeah.
funnily enough, that Akshar Patel Test match in Ahmedabad, he got wickets to deliveries that did not turn,
Straight
and
deliveries. You
and
were
yeah,
hitting, right?
he got, but again, if there was a Test match in Dubai between West Indies and Pakistan, where
Pakistan, yes.
Devendra Bishu got 8 wickets with the pink ball in one
Yeah,
innings. Where
yeah,
in the same game where Azhar Ali I think got a triple hundred. So,
yeah.
so it's not as if spinners can't bowl on it, but it's just that in the subcontinent and especially India, I think there will be conditions where dew may set in and become
Yes.
a little
Yeah.
tricky for the pink ball.
And the due factor, I think that's very important because आप देखो गिनती के मैदान हैं जहाँ पे आपको ड्यू फैक्टर नहीं मिलेगा, at any point of the year. वो
Yeah,
ड्यू फैक्टर इज गोइंग टू बी अ बिग इशू. आप वानखेड़े पे नहीं खेल सकते, चाहे आप आईपीएल खेलो अप्रैल मई में, चाहे लास्ट ईयर हमने वर्ल्ड कप में देखा, ड्यू इज एवर प्रेजेंट ओवर देयर. So Ahmedabad is one option. Kolkata again, it's a dewy ground, depending on what time of the year you're playing. So India always that dewy issue is there. Dubai is a perfect example, where Dubai is a perfect example क्योंकि पाटा surface है, the dew issue is not there because of the ambient conditions. So maybe Dubai can hold a few more pink ball test matches. You never know, right?
India
Okay,
versus
let's.
Pakistan 3 match pink ball series in
यार
Dubai.
पहले चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी खिला लो तुम, उसके बाद टेस्ट सीरीज के बारे में
हाँ,
बोलो.
एक मैच हो नहीं रहा है.
पहले चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी सॉर्ट आउट कर लो. बाय द वे व्यूअर्स, यू डोंट हैव राइट, पहले चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी सॉर्ट आउट हो जाए, तुम बायलैटरल खिला लो
Yeah,
हैं.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
How
yeah.
teams have fared in day-night test matches? Look at that. Australia, 12 matches, 11 wins out of those 12. Uh, England 7-5 for West Indies. India 4. India has won 3 out of their 4. Other teams have also played 4, but none of जिसने भी 4 खेले हैं सिर्फ उसमें से India is the one which is most successful. Obviously, that one loss came against Australia, and it was a really bad loss with that 36 all out over there. आज एलेक्स कैरी का स्टेटमेंट आया है कि पिंक बॉल से आप क्या एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हो, and he said 36 all out. Okay, just from this statistic, Gigi, again, this question arises: will Australia have that advantage going into this particular game?
100%. I think their best chance going into the series 0-1
Hmm.
down would be a pink ball test at Adelaide. Considering जो घाव उन्होंने हमको last time दिए थे, so they would want to reopen those wounds. So that is
Yeah.
the best. I mean, and they would hope for that inspirational spell from Mitch Starc. उनके वो 2-3 यॉर्कर शुरू में या वो उस तरह की डिलीवरीज आउटसाइड ऑफ स्टंप पड़ गई. You never know. I mean, KL Rahul slips into his bad habits. यशस्वी edges one शुरू में थोड़ा vulnerable रहते हैं वो, जैसा हमने फर्स्ट इनिंग में देखा, दैट पॉइंट एरिया, बैकवर्ड पॉइंट एरिया वो कट करते हैं, वो बॉल जाता है वहां पे. सो दे हैव देयर चांसेस इफ दे ग्रैब देयर चांसेस. रोहित इज ऑफ कोर्स कमिंग बैक फ्रॉम a bit of a layoff after घर में उनकी थोड़ी खुशी का वो आया तो मौका, तो he will be a bit rusty obviously, also out of form. So they have their chances if they grab their chances. Even at Perth, they had a chance. They were all over India. I mean, after cleaning them up for 150. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fine performance from India. Let's take a couple of questions and also build up a couple of quotes that have come in. एक Adam Gilchrist का quote है, एक Alistair Cook का quote है. Let's see if we can play them. Okay, this is Alistair Cook backing Jaiswal's fearless sledging of Mitchell Stark. मतलब यार जबरदस्त मीम बन जाएगा. It's coming too slow. It's coming too slow. We've seen his celebration enough here, but it's more enjoyable against Australia than England. हाँ, दो double hundred तो England के against ही थे. Sledging Mitchell Stark, saying at a certain stage, I think he wasn't on 100. He wasn't on anything on a major score, but he's telling them you're bowling slow. I mean, Alistair Cook has his, Nitin, he's had his fair share of success in Australia and against Australia, even at home. From that perspective, coming from somebody as esteemed as Alistair Cook, Sir Alistair Cook, I think that's a big thumbs up for Yashasvi Jaiswal, and I think Yashasvi Jaiswal is going to be a major force for India. Yes, Bumrah is there. Yes, Virat Kohli is there. लेकिन ऑस्ट्रेलियन मीडिया ने तो जायसवाल को बिल्ड अप किया था. He's lived up to that hype. Now he's lived up to that hype. I think he's just going to carry on from there. He's not somebody who's going to stop. उनका जो hunger है ना, उनका जो desire है, that is something to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about him is he loves to get big hundreds, like all
Yeah.
Mumbai players. That run hunger seems to be, they just carry it in their kit bags, the hunger for runs, and I have a different take on him sledging Stark. I always believe that you shouldn't poke the bear, you because coming, especially that now that the next test match is going to be in his domain, where I think in 7 games he's picked up 39 wickets in day-night Adelaide tests. I think we should just be a little bit cautious. We should maybe keep telling him, "Oh, you're a fantastic bowler. Oh, wow, what a lovely bowler you are." And like Ashok Mankar did to Maninder Singh in that Ranji Trophy final, in Mumbai in 1980. He kept on defending
Yeah.
Maninder Singh. अरे well bowled यार मनी क्या डाल रहा है यार मनी and ऐसे करते करते 259 मारा उसने. So
हाँ.
so maybe yeah. So I think maybe that's what we should do to
Times have
Stark as well.
changed. Times have
Times have
changed.
changed.
Times have
Times have
changed,
changed.
right? You can't teach these young
That
kids what to say and on what not to say.
yeah
This
yeah
11, he says Jaiswal, KL Rahul, Gill, Virat, Rohit, Pant, Nitish, Sundar, Rana, Siraj, and Bumrah. I think this is pretty much on point, Gigi. I think maybe the toss-up might be between Sundar and Jadeja. I'm not sure, because left arm spinner with that pink ball, getting that skid, getting that bounce. That might be something they might look at. But otherwise, I think that 11 looks pretty decent. What are your thoughts?
My sources tell me that Washington is a pennant. Definitely, he's there. He's going to be there. The toss up could be because थोड़ा सा apparently the feedback that the Indian team is getting है, Adelaide में थोड़ा ball घूम भी सकता है. The pink ball also helps spinners a bit. I mean, I think Netherlands record is very good with the pink ball, if I'm not too wrong. So
28
maybe
wickets
it could
28
be a
wickets
28 wickets, is it? Yeah.
yeah
So maybe the toss up will be between your Nitish Reddy and Ravindra Jadeja, because Harshit Rana bowled very well in the practice match as well.
No,
Those
but
three
Nitish,
fast bowlers. So,
yeah, but Reddy को
but
आप
then again,
third pacer नहीं खिला
हाँ,
सकते. Reddy को आप third pacer
correct.
की तरह, so they might decide to
No,
make a second.
Reddy will not play as a third pacer. Definitely
Yeah.
not as a third pacer. So that is why his spot is a bit still a bit vulnerable. Although he was very impressive in the Test match and very impressive in the pink ball match as well.
Okay.
But then maybe if the ball is turning and they find that feedback, they might go to Jadeja. But I doubt it. I think they'll stick to the same 11 winning combo. That is the mood in the Indian team. Let's stick to the winning combo. And they're going forward in this series. I think they're going to give Washington Sundar a first go in every match. That is their policy now. So
Okay.
I think the other two spinners, bad luck for them, especially
Okay.
Ashwin.
Yeah. Let's look at that final comment from Adam Gilchrist, because this is going to be a major thing. I mean, ठीक है, how India performs, everybody will be looking at that, because 36 all out सबके mind में रहेगा. But I think अब जो 1-0 हो गया है, I think let's look at 36 all out. अब ये भी देखना है कि what the Australian batting is going to do, especially against somebody like Bumrah, with the pink ball. Nitin, he's talked about adopting a defensive strategy. I think Manas Labuschagne ने तो ये करने की कोशिश की थी, right? But the more
yeah
defensive
yeah
you go, if you're not scoring runs, you're not taking the lacquer off the ball. You're allowing the ball to stay shinier, allowing the ball to stay hard for a longer period of time. I mean, you know, what are you thinking of for this? And also, Gilchrist has said, let's play Sean Abbott, who can, really dig the ball in, get that awkward bounce, instead of Boland, not Boland, but Sean Abbott. What are you thinking on these comments from Adam?
If Mitchell Marsh is unable to bowl,
Hmm.
uh, then maybe Sean Abbott comes in. But they are
Yeah,
thinking also of playing Mitchell Marsh only as a batter because he's been in very
yeah,
good form in the last 11 months. So it's funnily, I mean, it's so ironic that I say this that Australia seems to be having greater selection headaches than India. So,
yeah,
yeah, and as far as Bumrah is concerned, he has to strike in the first spell. Yeah,
yeah.
if we have to yet see in this series how the Indian bowling responds when if and when Bumrah does not strike in his first spell.
Well, it's just
So
been two
those two,
innings. Yeah,
yeah,
but
it's just been two innings. So we need
Mhm.
we need to find out how the team responds when पांच ओवर उसके हो गए and
हाँ,
बाद में
wicket नहीं
उसका
है,
second spell yeah
that
wicket
kind of.
नहीं आया then maybe that's when the game will be on.
Okay, Gigi, your thoughts, final thoughts for today's show. Any thoughts on this?
I I think coming to Bumrah, I think Aussie batsman को न्यूजीलैंड वालों से थोड़ी टिप्स लेने चाहिए. Somehow New Zealand play him very well here. In the two test matches, I think they hardly gave any wickets at home. In the WTC final, they didn't give him a wicket. And at that
Yeah.
time, at that point in time, I was speaking to an Indian selector. Believe me, he said that Bumrah bowler बहुत अच्छा है, but यार थोड़ा patience उसके साथ खत्म हो रहा है because wicket नहीं मिल रहे हैं उसको. Wickets भी लेना जरूरी है. And then he had a great England series. So वो
Hmm.
problem. I mean, New Zealand somehow खेल जाता है उसको. I don't know how they managed to do it, but they don't give him wickets. So maybe the Aussies should ask their पड़ोसीज कि यार तुम लोग इसको कैसे खेलते हो, कैसे करते हो यार तुम लोग, मतलब थोड़ा हमको भी सिखा दो. So I mean that they need to, if they conquer the Bumrah challenge, then I think. But I think yeah, the big challenge will be that if Bumrah is not firing, but I think we have enough firepower and I think
Yes,
that Siraj, the way Siraj and Harshit bowled, I think we should be. I mean, Bumrah first spell में नहीं तो second spell में strike करेंगे. Somebody who will keep coming at you and in short bursts. With the
hmm.
way Siraj and Harshit have been bowling, I'm very impressed with Harshit. So I think the Aussies are in for a tough time, both the
Okay. I
innings.
mean,
And
I don't even want to.
it's so funny,
I don't.
Chetan. It's so
Yeah.
funny that an aggressive batter like Gilchrist is saying that the batters should play defensively.
You
It's
know,
and maybe this is where we realize we realize maybe the impact of a player only after such a certain player goes away. Maybe this is where the impact of a David Warner is felt.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what Om Prakash is saying. They need a bonding type of batter at three. Basically, they need somebody, who just takes the bull by the horn and, just goes on an attacking spree. आप ball को attack करो, उसका lagger हटाओ, उसको, you make it go soft. Yeah, go ahead, Gigi.
If they could turn the clock back, imagine McGrath, McDermott, Reed, जो थे Bruce Reed. Imagine these guys bowling with the pink ball. I mean,
What we
they would have
discussed,
blown
right?
India off.
In a
Sorry?
different
Yeah.
era, it would have provided the similar kind of test, with the kind of bowlers we had. Imagine a Waqar and a Wasim Akram with a pink ball. Stuff of nightmares. अगर मैं एक बैटर हूँ और अगले दिन
Absolutely.
मुझे पिंक बॉल
Absolutely.
से वसीम अकरम को खेलना है, वसीम अकरम
And
को
on these surfaces, and on these
on
surfaces,
surface. I mean, there's no way you would see 36 all
yeah.
out every day. With Wasim Akram. Wasim Akram with a pink ball, 36 all out every day. The kind of legendary fast bowler he was. Oh, white balls, he could move the ball two different ways
Or those
every.
West Indian greats, imagine. Imagine those West Indian greats, Malcolm Marshall and
So,
Corin Croft and
pink ball is a different beast altogether. So it'll be interesting to see how these two teams negotiate it. I think both India and yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, Seaman Wakar, oh, exactly, right? This is exactly the reaction. If I'm a batter facing Wasim and Wakar with the pink ball the next day, boss, ho gaya. Mental battle wahi pe khatam ho jati hai. So this is my point. I think the challenges will be for both sides. India, with the confidence of 1-0 coming into this game, will they'll be in a confident mood with Bumrah. I don't want to think about Bumrah not taking wickets. I think he's in the kind of form. He's got that mental barrier in the Australian heads. Ki boss Bumrah aega. Travis Head saying, one of the greats, this, that, this, that. So they know Bumrah is going to take wickets. I think this is going
सपने
to
में
be
आ
a
रहा होगा अभी.
major series for Bumrah. But let's see how it works out. Um, we'll be back tomorrow, 6:30. We'll be talking about, we'll be building up again to the BGT, again, the second test match. Uh, we are looking at some of the comments that will come from the teams. Both teams will have their press conferences. Both teams will have their net sessions. So we'll be talking about and building up to the second test as always. 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. For now, it's goodbye to Nitin Nayak and Gaurav Gupta. Thanks a lot for joining us, and thanks to everybody
Thank
who
you.
sent in their comments. Please do subscribe and like the video on YouTube, and if you subscribe, you'll get the notifications when our show is on. So as always, we'll see you tomorrow back again at 6:30.